problem.
You could talk with me.
Uh-huh.
So, well, let's like start off with the first question. How did your parents like treat you when you were young?
My parents, okay. Well, my father, my real father, he passed away. He died when I was about a year old. So
Oh.
my mother, she remarried, and so I had a stepfather when I was at the age of 5. And my father was Caucasian. That's where I get my last name, Bowman. So that's how I get my last name. But the way they treated, I know, I have a sister, a younger sister, but we were treated, you know, actually like normal children.
Even by like stepdad?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, he didn't treat me any different. He treated me like if I was one of his own. He was a good father. My mother, she was a homemaker, basically.
Homemaker?
Yeah, she stayed home. So we always had a mother at home. So whenever I came home from school, there was always somebody there. So I fairly had a pretty normal childhood. Of course, until they divorced.
Oh no.
Yeah, they divorced when I was let me see, it was about 5th grade when they divorced.
Fifth grade?
No, 5th grade.
Did your mother like remarry after that?
She remarried right before I started high school. So she was basically a single mother from when I was from 6th grade to about 8th grade. She was a single mother. Okay.
Was it difficult to have a stepfather?
Of course, because my second stepfather.
Both.
Okay.
Either one.
Well, the first stepfather, where I get, he adopted me, and that's where I used his last name Bowman. He was a good father. Okay. Now, he had children of his own, but they lived with their mother, so it didn't really interfere with our life. Now, whereas my second stepfather, which my mother, she remarried when I was just started 9th grade. At that point in my life, we moved in with my stepfather at his house, and he had children of his own.
Oh.
So he had, an older son, a daughter, and then a younger son. The younger son he had was about 3 years older than me, so we were both in high school. So, he and I, we got along a little closer than I did with my stepbrother, my older stepbrother, and my older stepsister. And the way he treated me, well, because he loved my mother, he tried to be as close to me as possible. But at the same, yeah, he was kind. I mean, he was never, mean or, he never treated me unfairly. But of course, he had his own children, so exactly. So he wasn't able to.
No favoritism.
Yeah, exactly. But he didn't. He wasn't able to focus all his attention to me or to my sister because he had his own children also.
Yeah. How did you spend like when you're like a teenager? How did you spend your free time?
When I was a teenager, when I was in 9th grade, when I was about 14 years old, I was basically into sports. I played soccer and also, other basketball and other types of sports. But basically, I was more into soccer, and I was on the team at school. And also, I kept straight A's. So I was very busy when I was in 9th grade, 10th grade. After school, either I had practice, or I would go to help out with my mom's her own store that she owned, or basically, I just did my, when I came home, I just did a lot of homework and studied a lot. That's the only way to keep straight A's. Okay. Yeah, 9th and 10th grade. Yeah, I was a busy child. So I didn't really have a lot of free time at that time to just do whatever I wanted to, or go out with my friends all the time. Because on the weekend, I would always help with my mother's store. So basically, whenever my friends used to call me, hey, let's go out and let's go to a party or something like that, I usually, couldn't make it. So because, basically, I was so occupied with something else.
If you ever did go hang out with your friends, where would you go?
Right, and that's just it. When I started, when I was in 11th grade, probably the second semester of my 11th grade and 12th grade, when I was about 16, as soon as I got my driver's license, actually.
Start
Exactly. I was, I was spending more time with my friends, for obvious reasons.
Because you could drive.
Exactly, exactly. It's not like that. I have to call my mother for a ride or.
Or like.
Right, right. As soon as I was able to drive and I had my own car, there was more freedom. So I had more, I guess, my own time to spend more time with my friends. Kind of time, when I did spend time with my friends, it was basically a lot of just, playing a lot of sports, playing video games. We didn't have TV video games like we have today. We had to go to an arcade, like go to a bowling alley. No. We didn't. It's like more like a bowling alley where they had pinball machines and those kinds.
And they had an arcade with.
Yeah, they had arcade games there where you had to put the quarter to play a game.
Oh, quarter.
Yeah, it wasn't like today where where there's a PC.
And it's like you have to like put in $1 to get.
Right. It is different. And basically, that's the way we spend most of our time after school. Then towards probably my senior year, it was more into chasing girls.
Oh.
Going out to parties more often. Less time spent on playing video games and more time trying to find a girlfriend.
Do you think the people our generation, they spend too much time hanging out with their friends or doing things other than studying?
No. You know what? Actually, I think your generation, you guys don't spend enough time with your friends.
Not enough?
No, not enough time. I think you guys are starting to lose your ability to socialize with other people. I know that you guys do socialize a lot on, for example, Facebook, online or over the phone, right? But when it comes to face-to-face socializing,
people have a harder time.
yeah, exactly. I think you guys have more of a hard time communicating with other people when you guys are, basically face-to-face.
That's a good important skill.
Yeah, absolutely. But the way you guys talk on like for example, Facebook, I notice you guys just yak away all the time, which is good. But as soon as you guys face each other, it's just like silence.
And whenever you talk, it's awkward.
Yeah, exactly. And we never had that kind of problem when I was growing up because we didn't have that. We didn't have we didn't have PCs in fact back then. We didn't have the internet back in the 80s, mid 80s and the late 80s, and we didn't have cell phones. So basically, if we wanted to talk to our friend, it was like we're not using one of those old-fashioned type of phones, a landline, so to speak. And we were only limited to talk how long we could allow to talk on the phone because it was our home phone. So your mom or dad was exactly. You don't want to tie up the phone because other people are trying to call.
But don't you think that because don't you think that other people do you think that we actually don't hang out enough with our friends?
I think
judging by what you see on Facebook.
Yeah, I think you guys don't hang out as much as I think you should. And like I said, it's your generation is starting to lose the social skills. Really, it's kind of a little bit depressing because when I come to church and when I interact with you guys, especially the teenagers.
Yeah, but not a lot of them.
Yeah, but the thing is, a lot of them, they just don't know how to open up.
Like Audrey, probably?
Audrey, it's okay, but someone like maybe James, and there's some other kids, who maybe had some, problem with their family, or who was from a broken home like myself. They don't seem to be able to talk.
In front of people.
Exactly.
But they're good at talking behind them.
Absolutely, yes. As soon as they're on the computer, they're like Superman. It's just like they never stop.
Do you think in some way that this like all the online websites we use and all that would affect how we would grow up and how it affect like the career
Yeah.
wise
Well,
or
see,
like what?
see, you guys have certain advantages that we didn't. Um, my generation didn't have, and that is especially the internet. This is where you're able to connect with people that from long distance, instantaneously. It's not like like you had to be careful when you call somebody. You had to wait, because be careful you don't talk too long, or your phone bill is gonna start, skyrocketing. You're able to actually, interact online. People from other countries, other cities, etc. And not just among your friends. Now, I'm talking about relatives, even strangers, people you don't even know. I mean,
yeah, that's like a problem.
yeah, exactly. Of course, you got to be careful when you talk to.
Otherwise,
exactly right. You hear on on the news all the time about some type of adult predator going after a young child. Exactly right. Exactly. But I think that's one of the advantages you guys do have, and it's called, basically you guys have a bigger range of networking. That I noticed that you guys have advantage over my generation. We were very limited. Our geography of networking was was smaller than I think your generation.
And in a way, it's kind of hard to get information.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, when, for example, when I was a teenager, if we wanted to find even a part-time job, we basically had to go to that place of a business to get an application, right? You fill out if they were hiring or not. Whereas today, you're able to, look through that online. I mean, instantaneously. Exactly. If they're hiring or not, right? Exactly. Whereas, at when I was a teenager, if we wanted to find a job, a part-time job, we had to physically go there, and it took some time to actually find out who's hiring and and interview, etc. Whereas today, you guys could actually find like maybe a dozen places where they're if they're hiring or not, and it's real quick, minutes.
We can get like information like
Exactly,
whatever we
instantaneously.
want.
Yeah, exactly, in a few minutes. Whereas if I was to do it, it would take a few hours.
Do you think it's dangerous that we would that information is like easily can be given away?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what that's where one of the reasons why there's some problems these days, a bigger problem with identity theft. And identity theft, because so much information is on on the internet that someone, a predator, or excuse me, or someone a hacker, or even a thief, right, could somehow, if they could access your social security number, your home address, your name. And if they're able to do that, I mean, they could do some real serious damage. Oh, yeah, exactly. You've heard about people who their checking accounts got hacked into, or someone who used someone else's social security number to open up to get a loan from a bank, and it's happened. Yes, that's why you have to be careful what kind of information you give online, because someone who has the capability to actually hack into certain systems, it will be able to find that information about you.
Do you think it's safer not to have information given out easily, or just keep
that's just it. Especially if you do a lot of business online on the internet, it's like you really don't have a choice, because, for example, if you like to do shopping, a lot of shopping online, yeah, exactly. You have to get the information, or you just can't do any business.
Or you have to like directly go to.
Yeah, exactly. And right, exactly. And it's just like even when even at work, like when people want to open up an account with the company, they have to give certain information, and that information has to be inputted into the computer system, into the database, and that's where the danger lies.
People can get to it.
Exactly. If you have a system it doesn't have a lot of stuff, a fail-safe system, someone could access that system very easily and access people's accounts and all the information, which can be very, very dangerous. Oh yeah, exactly.
Well, like Speaking about like safety, like
Uh-huh.
technology and computer wise, I was also thinking like, how is your safety like in publicly like
Well,
in areas like your
well,
neighborhood?
that's just it. When I was in my teen years, okay, um, certain areas, for example, LA, Southern
Oh
California,
yeah.
it has totally changed,
Oh
okay?
really?
Absolutely. For example, like Koreatown. Back then, when I was growing up, Koreatown was nothing compared to what's right now.
Like in a bad
Yeah,
way.
uh-huh. Well, in a very good way, okay? Well, let me give you an example. When I first came to this country, when I was back in 1971, I was 5 years old, okay? And about the mid 70s, okay? Mid 70s, that's when I was a little more older, so I could still remember,
What things?
things. Back in the mid 70s, my mom used to come down to what was now Koreatown. Of course, there was no
North
Koreatown at
there?
that time. Koreatown did not exist.
Oh.
But the only Korean restaurant, there was only one Korean restaurant. There was only one Korean restaurant, maybe one little market. That's it. Now, if you go to Koreatown, it's just like
I was
exactly. I mean, it's like every corner has a Korean restaurant and a market. So, and the thing is, at that time, a lot of the buildings back then were run down.
oh.
And this area, a lot of this area, like right here, off of La Brea, it was basically a lot of, there was a lot of black gangs. Um, it was infested with a lot of drug dealers, in certain areas, but it's cleaned up a lot since then. Back
And
in
it's
this,
safer
in a
now
safer way,
back then.
right? But in another certain way, we have more, I guess, gang problems now than we had before. Back then, I mean, gangs always existed, okay?
Yeah, like isn't it like
Yeah,
kind of
right,
like
right. But back then, the gangs that that existed, didn't go around carrying guns or like that. It's basically the worst that could happen was you get stabbed.
oh.
Yeah, but now, it's like everybody, carries a gun. It's like these teenagers, gangbangers, um, street gangs. It seems like like they all carry, they all have some type of a weapon or gun.
Yeah, like I live in a
Right.
safe neighborhood, so I don't
Right,
really
right.
know.
I mean, La Porcenta, right, exactly. And that's a good thing because your parents try to shelter you from from all that. But that see, I didn't live in L.A. I lived in Torrance, okay, and Torrance is considered one of the safest cities.
Oh,
It
really?
still is,
It was pretty
Yes,
safe.
it's the one that.
Yeah, I need to check the time
Okay,
before I go
all right.
there.
Okay, but yeah, I lived in Torrance. But see, as soon as I started driving, that's when I started, hanging out with my
Going to
friends,
other
coming down to,
places.
yeah, to Los Angeles, LA, and that's where you find out about all these gangs and all that.
Did like anybody do anything for them? Like those gang people, like they do back like now, or
Well, I mean,
could they receive any help? Like did anyone do about like those
back then,
cases?
the gang problem wasn't as bad as right now. I mean, back then, it's just, I mean, there was a few fights that broke out, but no one got killed or anything like that. I mean, like these days,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, just like drive-by shooting, that didn't even exist. I think back in the '80s, it was like
Very
drive-by.
more
Well,
violent.
nobody, yeah, exactly. Today it is more violent because right now it's more easier to possess, guns.
Do you think it's like partially like what do you think is like causes like what we like why we're like violent like teenagers?
Um, well, basically, it's because the bottom line is it's their way they were brought up. If I have to point a finger at someone, it would have to be their parents, because to me, I think it is the obligation of the parents to teach the children,
Take care of them.
teach them what's between right and wrong, keep them away and tell them away from joining a gang, keep them away from and inform the kids from about drugs and gangs and alcohol, and etc. Those things that that causes trouble, especially a lot of young kids these days.
Do you think, like, don't you think the media is somewhat part of their, like, of
Well,
people, what the children think?
well, yeah, because television especially.
This is my other channel.
Okay. A lot of times television sensationalize, sensation,
Then, yeah. Stutter.
sensationalize, gangland. I mean, look at the History Channel. Have you ever seen the History Channel?
What?
Gangland.
No, I've never seen
Oh,
that.
you haven't seen that? I mean, they basically, make, these street gangs, look like they're heroes. I know at the end of the story they tell you, this is a bad way of, to live, but when kids see that, they're like, the young kids, when they see,
They want to be
stories,
like that?
exactly, the street gangs, like, hey, you know what, that's a street gang
That's
that's down the
cool.
street from us, they're on TV, what do they think they're gonna think?
They want to be a part of it too.
Exactly, they want to be just like them, and that way, yes, I believe that the media does have some responsibility, and but basically, it's the parents. The thing is, I mean, I don't want to look like a racial issue, but for example, if you look at compared to a lot of Hispanic families, and being in Southern California, right, you're exposed to the Hispanic culture, okay, whether you like it or not, okay, and if you notice, a lot of the gang problems, street gang problems in Southern California, is mostly Hispanic gangs. And come on, I mean, if you're from a family of 5 or 6 kids, okay, it's tough enough for parents to raise 2 kids, even 1, but trying to raise 6 or 5 kids, in a family,
It's like overwhelming.
exactly. And when you don't give the children enough attention, what's going to happen is they're going to start hanging around with their friends
Or trying to find
outside.
another form of
Exactly. They're going to have a
protection.
second family, which the second family usually tends to be street gangs. That's what happens when you don't give enough attention to the children, and that's what's happening these days. And the thing is, it's not hard. I understand it's very hard for the parents because a lot of these parents, the mother and the father, they both work full time. When they come home, they're exhausted.
They just
Okay,
want to, like,
exactly. But no one told them to have 4, 5, or 6 kids. Okay, that's they should have thought about they should think about that
like
before
beforehand.
they start having such family. Okay, and like I said, I mean, it's tough enough to raise even 1 child, let alone 2. But when you start having 3, 4, 5, or 6,
It becomes like,
yeah, exactly. Economically, it's tough on you, okay? But socially, it's very tough on the children too, because like I said, they just don't get enough attention, undivided attention from their parents. And when that happens, and a lot of teenagers, they want that attention. They want someone to show affection to them. Exactly. They want someone to show them, hey, we care about you, okay? Hey, you're a part of the family. Hey, you're part of us. And that, I think, is one of the problems that a lot of young kids today don't have.
yeah, because like a lot of teenagers are really like subconscious and they're
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
insecure.
Oh, well, that's it's always been like that.
Always.
Yeah, every generation, the teenagers always are insecure.
Yeah, that's one thing that's
yeah,
true,
yeah. I don't know any generation that hasn't gone through that stage. But every generation goes through that stage. But I think the environment itself has changed a lot. For example, if you know about the history of the United States, back in the 50s, of course, there was the teenage rebellion. Every generation has that. But back in the 50s, it was more family oriented. Okay. Yeah. Well, back in the 50s in the United States, you didn't have this kind of problem that you have today, especially with street gangs, with drug use, with alcoholism,
Would you say
etc.
it's safer or like,
Back in the 50s, I would say it was safer. That's the reason why a lot of neighborhoods you didn't lock the door, front door. When you went out for a walk, you just left it unlocked. And that's the way it used to be. But nowadays, to
Like,
leave your door unlocked is just
and
being
even some
stupid.
houses have like big bars on
Oh, absolutely, and they have
the
screen
windows.
doors. Absolutely. That's one of the reasons. And in fact, if you look at some of these old movies or pictures, you will never see those kind of like bars on the windows.
Well,
You will not see that. And that's one of the things that's really changed. Crime has changed. Right.
well, gym teacher, I think my camera's time is like running out.
Hi.
Hello. And so, and I know, like, well, thank you so much.
Okay, not a problem. All right, sure.
This has been great.
Okay. All right, Joni. Okay.
Thank
Bye.
you. Yeah,
Bye.
thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay.